Hi, Word of Gord on another sunny afternoon. Good day and welcome. Watch this. See how quickly I become a being of light, shining in the sun? Well, sometimes when I'm retrieving, just like others retrieve when they're out of body, traveling as a radiant being or an orb, we can also do that. Sometimes people mistake us for beings of light, angelic beings, when in fact we're just meditating human beings projecting their consciousness. It's very easy for them to mistake you as a being of light and project their cultural expectations onto you. And we all have to adapt to that, to the various religious projections, the various atheistic projections, agnostic, fearful, doubtful, faithful. We do our best, and we work in all sorts of situations. Disasters, natural disasters, acts of God, the tsunami, earthquakes, wars, the natural expression of man in war to destroy form. So I've written about all this in my 2 books, and other people like Bruce Moen, who is a great influence on me, has also written about these. And his conversation board on the afterlifeknowledge.com website is a very useful treasure trove of retrieval stories. Have a look at that sometime. Now, the so-called terrorist assault in Mumbai last week, and some people have put up their hands and said, hey, maybe they're freedom fighters, not terrorists. Well, that may be the case. Everyone and every ethnic grouping has its agenda. But those of us who have dedicated ourselves to the service of retrieval do not make distinctions of that nature. We retrieve anyone and everyone who is ready to go on to the afterlife rather than hang around the earth plane as a ghost, as a hungry ghost, as the Tibetans call them. And for the sake of greater understanding, I took a retro view, consciousness projection retro view of the Mumbai situation. I did not consciously participate in the retrievals. There's many people doing this, both astral plane residents and meditators and consciousness projectors here on Earth. It is not necessary for those of us who do this to do it every time. One's contribution is always welcome, but it's not necessary. I was curious of how the retrievals were done in this, and what I discovered was that the retrieving teams were in fact tracking the freedom fighters / terrorists on their mission. They knew about it ahead of time, and they followed them. Not to stop them, not to deflect them, but to help out with the carnage, if you like, with the spirit removal. And that is pretty much what happened. And they retrieved both the victims and the police and anyone who happened to die who was not so encumbered by shock and disbelief and terror that they could be moved on. All were moved on, as far as I'm aware. And that includes the shooters, as we call them here in North America. Some of the shooters went immediately upon their physical passing, being shot or blown up or whatever, went immediately to their training camp base somewhere in the mountains, as I could gather. Not the exact geographical location, of course, but just a training camp somewhere, and where celebrations were ongoing, and they joined in as happy ghosts, if you like. Um, the rest, and there's quite a variety of people when I say the rest, culturally and consciousness-wise, were moved on to the appropriate astral plane levels that would be their own particular comfort zone in the astral planes. Everyone is different and everyone has slightly different comfort zones. And retrievers, people like me and others, are well versed in locating those comfort zones. My last talk was on suicides. And I would just like to add that suicides are moved on just the same way as everyone else if they're ready to be moved on. Many people can give much resistance to moving on. They're afraid, they're doubtful, they don't trust you. You may appear as a being of light, but they have religious backgrounds that will tell them that, Satan, even Satan can appear as a being of light. So you have to sometimes debate with them if they're intellectually inclined, or appeal to them on an emotional level if they're more focused in their astral bodies. There's a number of techniques that we use, and they don't always work. Sometimes we have to go back 4, 5, 6, 7 times to get that same person that is resisting, that is fearful, that is clinging to their earthbound life, their families, their loved ones, the place where they lived. And if they do cling tenaciously, we can't actually get them to move. We're not empowered in any way by religion, God, or anyone else, even the hierarchy or whatever I might have spoke about in the past. We are not empowered to go against their free will. If they wish to stay as earthbound ghosts, they can do so. They're given every opportunity to move on, but they're certainly not forced into it. So that's just a little brief overview of how that was done. It was a little bit of an innovation for me because I hadn't realized that the retrieving teams would actually follow the possible perpetrators to the beginning of their acts. The last thing I participated in, the Beslan school, we'll call it tragedy in Russia, some years ago, we had a month waiting for something to happen. So when it did, we were ready, and that was a very smooth and efficient removal of spirits from dead bodies. And I commented on that in my second book, More Adventures in Eternity. I hope this has been of use to you. These things are certainly troubling. It's very sad that people would choose to end their lives in this way, but they're idealists, they're fanatics, they're focused on their agenda. And those who are focused on their agenda above the concerns of others inevitably cause this kind of conflict. No matter whether you're an army, a ragtag army, a group of malcontents, however you describe yourselves, if that idealism, that vision trumps everyone else's card in the game, then violence ensues. But such is the way of our world. Sad, but we can transcend it. We can move towards this tragedy, toward a kind of celebration of all life on all the planes, not just this one. There is life everywhere, and it is eternal.